What's happening? Andy here. I am joined today by my friend Chris Pollock of Polek and Polek in New Jersey. How are you today, Chris?
Hello, Andy. I'm doing great today.
Great to see you. You look like the last time we spoke, I think you were in your home office. I think you look like you are back at work today. So great to see you. Every time we do these interviews, little by little, everybody seems to be more back in their office. So welcome back to your facility. And how long you been back?
Oh, well, we've been back a while. I've been back in here regularly. Most of us, though, have been back now once the summer was over.
Yeah.
Everybody's back more on a regular basis. But we've always had that flexibility where people could work from home when they needed it. So, we use that when we do. And I'm sure as we're coming into the winter weather, we use the work from home flexibility a lot when we're snowed in, especially.
Well, you're not snowed in like my friends down the road in Buffalo right now, who are probably still digging out from that 6 footer the other day. That was pretty incredible. Just
Yeah.
why don't we kick this off with give us you're the president, you're CEO of Pollock and Pollock. Tell us who Pollock and Pollock is.
Pollock and Pollock has been a wholesale distributor of compatible parts and supplies to the imaging industry, and as we're coming up on 2023, we'll be in our 49th year of business. Just coming
49th year of business.
49 years supporting the community.
So coming up on 50 years, we're almost there. And so your dad's business, yes, your dad started it.
My dad started it in 1974 out of his house.
Well, it's funny you say that because my dad started this company in 1974. So you and I will have to have a nice party next year and celebrate our in 24 when we hit our 50th. That's pretty cool. Both of us are right around the same time, both taking over for the dads.
That sounds like a great idea.
I think we'll need to have a little bit of a party. So, it's been a little bit. I wanted to catch up with you. You're always out and about, and at a lot of the shows. What are some of the things you've been doing the last couple months to keep yourself busy? Where you been?
Oh, back in October, I was in Florida at the CDA meeting, and
Another person at CDA. I'm the only
yeah,
one who didn't get to go to that. I'm just throwing it out there, CDA. I would love to come cover your events. I would love to come attend and highlight people like Chris that are there. So what were you doing there? What were you talking about?
well, it was a great event. I have to say, it's nice to see so many people back now.
Yeah.
It was yeah, I've been to a few events over the past year. This was one of the largest attendance wise that I had been at. So that was very encouraging to see, and everybody's very excited to get back, and got to sit in a lot of the topics and presentations they were doing, and we helped sponsor having a speaker there, Aaron Ralston, which he gave a phenomenal presentation that everybody loved. I still heard about it weeks later when I ran into people. If you don't know who Aaron Ralston is, you probably remember him going back a few years ago when you saw in the news. He was the hiker that was trapped in the
Oh my
canyons of
gosh.
Utah and had his hand pinned between a boulder and had to amputate his hand. And it was just a real compelling presentation of talking about his whole experience going through that. It was unbelievable.
Well, that'll get your attention, that's for sure.
You got that right.
Yeah, another one. So you were at CDA coming up. What do you got? It's holiday time, so probably not a lot coming up. But
Well,
ECS, you're going to
actually,
be.
just last week, I was at the Cannata Dinner,
Oh,
or
there we
the
go. Another
Cannata
one. That was a
Awards
big
Charities
charity.
Dinner, and that was great seeing a lot of people there, and just a phenomenal job that both
Yes.
CJ, Frank, and Carol had done on putting this event, and for the cause that they raised funds for this year. It's
They're over millions at this point that they've raised. I think multiple millions. Nobody throws a party like Carol Cannata, that's for sure. That is
yes.
one of the premier events. I was unfortunately at another event and was unable to make that one. And then coming up in January, we're going to be at the ECS Executive Connection. You'll be there
Yep.
again.
I'll be there again. It's a great way to start off the year. I went to that event for the first time last year, and I love that event. It was a great event with great presenters and speakers. It was a great way to get you thinking about things to work on your business as the year gets underway.
It really is. And, to kick off the year like that, first of all, let's just be realistic. You're from Jersey, I'm from Rochester, New York, and going to Scottsdale is not a bad thing in January.
It's a nice little respite
there's
from the
some
cold
really
weather.
good meetings, right? There's great people there. There's a lot more dealers coming this year. If any dealers are watching this that want to learn more about it, email me, get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to give you the info. So we'll see you there. And but that I want to kind of really talk to you about what's going on with Polek and Polek, and where do you guys fit in? What's happening right now with the current market, inflation, supply chain? You guys sort of were the saviors over the last, I'd say, 18 months, maybe 24 months, as companies had to scale back and some inventory became really challenging to find for some of the OEMs. So let's just dive right in. Supply chain is still an issue. Inflation is going through the roof. What are you seeing out there, and how do you see yourself fitting in?
Well, I would definitely say that 2022 was the year of the supply chain issue. That's for sure. Still going on in a lot of areas. Biggest area we saw from Polek and Polek side was there were a lot of supply chain issues on the supplies themselves, in addition to the equipment. And we were able to help support a lot of dealers across the country when they got into these jams. So that was very helpful. And we even
so these jams that you're talking about. So this is companies can't get toner, they can't get parts. So how did you? So you were able to, but when they couldn't get it from their primary vendors, or what was that?
Usually with a lot of the OEMs, they were having issues on deliveries and they were running out of stock. And there were some situations where they wouldn't have toners. It wasn't a short-term thing where we're a week that we're going to be out of product. There were some times where they said it was going to be a month or even 2 months until they couldn't get product. And you hear a lot of people complain about the supply chain issues with the equipment, that they can't get the equipment that they want to sell it. Although those existing customers still have equipment there. All of a sudden, when they can't get toner and the machines can't run,
they stop.
Then it starts to be a little bit more of a severe problem.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yes. So many dealers were turning to us for help with that. There were some areas where Cannata Minolta's, were brand name that people knew had a lot of supply chain issues, on top of everybody else because they had the fire at their factory. And we tried to help as much as we could. There was just no way that we were going to be able to support every dealer out there.
That was just the weirdest thing, 2 toner fires within a few months. We did a nice piece on that with Laura Blackmer, where she talked to us about what they were doing to fix that, and they're finally coming out of that. But still, not just Cannata, all the brands are. I'm sure you're having pockets where this isn't going to be available or that's not going to be available. So, what other brands do you guys carry?
Oh, we carry Kyocera, Sharp, Rico. Those are big ones.
All the biggies
on top of Cannata Minolta. So that's where we've been able to help a lot of these when these unexpected surprises come up. And the main thing we've told a lot of people as this was going on during this year is we should really sit down and talk more areas where we can help you, because it's become ever more apparent that it's really good to have a reliable backup choice and to kind of already have things set up. I kind of explained to people it's almost similar, when we've gone through the situations of the strikes with UPS and people say, oh, I'll just go to FedEx. Well, when that happened, first thing is FedEx wouldn't take on any new customers, and their existing customers, they only limited them to have an increase of so much percentage of what they usually do, so that they didn't put too much strain on their capacity.
There's only so many trucks,
and that's not much different than where we are. We'll have surplus on a lot of popular items that we move, but we don't stock our inventories or plan that the OEM is going to go on back order, and all of a sudden people are going to rush to us, because you can't predict that.
So let me ask you this. So when these guys, a lot of these, you probably got a decent amount of new customers over the last 18 months, people that you've probably talked to for years, and finally they gave you that call because, maybe they couldn't get this toner or that toner, and they were, desperate times call for desperate measures. And but once they started using you, are they ordering more? Are they seeing increased margins? What's their experience been like? Because that's the pitch, right? Is that, you offer a product that's, according to you guys, comparable to the OEM, comparable to genuine, but for, less money. Tell me about that. What's their experience been like?
Well, the experience is that, especially when they've had to use it after a couple of months, they notice that they're saving the money and not having to outlay as much cash on those bills that they have for supplies. And the other thing too, when it's comparable, when they say comparable to the OEM, when they're used to just only using OEM, they'll never really truly believe it until they actually experience it themselves. And once they've had the firsthand experience of using it, they start to look at things of, well, we should have been doing this a long time ago. Or sometimes even when they need to go back to the OEM because they say we're going to have to give the OEM some business in these areas, they start to look at where they've had accounts where they had to be very competitive to get them, and their margins were really pressured. And they say, well, we've been using this, we know it works. Let's make sure with these particular accounts that we keep using that product so that it's good business for us. It's within the margin levels that we want. And then they have the opportunity of buying the OEM product for where they're making higher margins and can afford to buy a more expensive product.
So the last 18 months, really, the push was availability. They just, you had a lot of action, a lot of interest because, OEMs were just, everybody is struggling with supply chain. Going forward, supply chain is going to start easing up, but now we're into a different scenario, and we've got runaway inflation, right? We've got a looming recession. We've got tech companies that are starting to cut already and announce it. It's, beyond Elon and the Twitter debacle over there. It's real stuff with, Amazon cutting, and just big tech companies are scaling back. And when that starts happening, that's the, beginning of, we'll start seeing it trickle down to, all areas, right? So moving into a recession, how do you guys position yourselves, and what's your thought on how you might be able? Do you think you're going to pick up more dealers? Do you think you're going to be able to, your message becomes more valuable, right?
Yeah, usually in the recessionary times, we're usually helping out more customers, and that they're turning to us because they need to find ways to save money and increase the bottom line of their business. And especially when you see that the recession's on the horizon and that your revenues are going to be flat. I constantly explain to people that trying to sell your way out of a recession is really tough. It's really tough. Probably not the best strategy. Although when people are revenue focused, one thing that's important to explain is that when you save money to your dealership, it's the same as growing revenue. For example, if your business had a net profit of 6%, and you were able to save $60,000 in a year, that would be the same as doing $1 million worth of revenue.
So that's $1 million of selling, right? $1 million of sales, $1 million of revenue. And all you did was just kind of squeeze a little more water out of the towel, a little more margin out of the deal you were already doing anyways.
Yes. And I do have a chart that explains it. So you could see where your company stacks up. The main thing is that the smaller your net profit margin, saving money, your company will have an even bigger impact. Now, if you're one of those rare companies where you're just killing it and you have an even higher margin here, then saving that money is not going to have as big of an impact. However, usually during recessions, people find themselves find themselves at those lower net profits. When I talk with dealers, they're usually, when I talk with them about net profit, I usually hear somewhere between 6 and 8% are the numbers that I hear from people.
I would say that's about right.
So I use the 6% as the lower end.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Now when you start having lower revenues, and then there's inflation, because people are seeing inflation everywhere in their business for every type of expense that they have in running their business. And we're coming to the end of the year. People have things like health insurance renewals. I'm sure they've seen that going up instead of down. So it's another added expense that, it just starts to creep up over year by year if you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, it does. And we're getting it from all directions right now. Gas is more expensive. Your labor is more expensive. Your drivers are more expensive, right? And so I think as an industry, we did really well, especially in terms of profitability. The first year, second year of the pandemic, people got a lot of free money. There was a lot of, checks going out as far as keeping your labor on. So it made it a little easier. If you really take a step back and you look, the sales numbers were down, but again, the profitability was up. So the expectations this year, you're going to be looking to stay profitable. There are fewer places and ways to do that. You're not going to get those checks going forward. At least doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And so what are you going to do to, keep those margins healthy? What are you going to do to, keep that profit coming in? And one area that seems like, in the right situation with the right customer, putting them onto, products like yours just seems like a no-brainer. So looking at those products, what do you cover? Is it just A3? What types of products do you guys do aftermarket for?
Oh, we cover both A3 and A4.
A3, A4, any wide format in there, anything like that as well, or?
No, we really don't get involved in the wide format.
Okay.
It's
So strength
primarily
A3,
the
A4, black and white and color, yes?
black and white and color.
And then other accessories as well. I know you have big staples. We've run some ads for it's swing line replacements, right?
Yep. We have the swing line replacement staples, and those are very popular, especially with dealers where they have school districts or any other customers where they've contracted the use of staples in there. Any money that they can save is
Sure.
a big benefit.
Sure. Well, Chris, this has been awesome. It's always nice catching up with you. I hope you're going to have a great Thanksgiving. I know we are too. We might have a white Thanksgiving up here. Hopefully it'll just be a regular one and we'll save that for Christmas. But great seeing you. And if I don't see you before then, I will see you in Scottsdale in the middle of January.
Yes. All right. Great talking with you, Andy. And you have a fantastic Thanksgiving as well.
You too. Take care, Chris.
All right.
Bye-bye.